A ghost. Oh, hello.
Hi, I'm Hannah.
And I am Tiffany.
And welcome to Witchy Weirdos.
Or welcome back, because people are now listening.
Yes, that's a very valid point.
Oh my goodness. Crazy. Today, we're going to be talking about some cursed objects, which I'm very excited about.
I know, so creepy. I love it.
So creepy. Basically, yeah. So I've got a few. You've got a few, Hannah?
Yep, we've got some to share.
Go for it. Just dive in. I'm so excited.
Let's start. Well, actually, I wanted to start before I go into my actual, proper researched cursed items by talking about a cursed item that I, sort of experienced when I was younger.
Ooh.
And I tried to research this. Besides, people writing about it a little bit in their own experiences online, there isn't actually a story behind it, but I still thought I'd share it. It's still quite creepy.
Way.
So there is a Victorian kind of, it might even be older, I think it might be Tudor, manor house that as a child we went on a school trip to.
Oh my god, are you talking about Afton Court?
Yes.
Oh my god, literally saying we went to different schools. Okay, continue.
Yes. So I'm sure you know this. So Afton Court has a library, and it is a red library kind of room. It's quite creepy. And within that library room, they have a painting. And this painting is one of those paintings where no matter where you stand in the room, it will look like it's looking at you. So that is creepy in itself.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of rumours around this. I think each year would pass these rumours down in our school. And again, I'm sure it's the same for you, that this picture was haunted and that the lady in the picture haunted Afton Court. And so there are a lot of creepy vibes, a lot of negative energy, and the kind of school trip that we went on was you stayed in the house for a night. So we all stayed over for a night, and I just have such vivid memories of how terrifying this place was. And again, I don't know if this is because of all the rumours that were around it. So before you even went, you were kind of terrified. But there was some interesting energy in that place.
Oh my god. So that is mad. I can't believe you stayed there, first off. That's insane.
It's creepy.
Yeah. So when I went to Afton Court, I never came into contact with that picture and stuff, at all. It was something my school completely vetoed. I didn't hear about it. But they took us around the whole of Afton Court, and it was terrifying.
It's a creepy place.
There is something about that place that is just wrong. There's I remember, the one thing I remember is a Pope hole. So I don't know if you remember this. Basically, there are holes cut into the ground with these rickety old ladders that would go down to these holes, basically. And the Pope would hide.
Oh my god, I love that.
Yeah, people would come. It would be we're going to kill the Pope, and the Pope would hide in these holes. And there was something about it. I remember looking down at it and wanting to throw up. It just feeling wrong. The whole place just felt wrong. I can't believe you stayed there.
It's a very creepy place. I think it's the Tudor history. That period of time is a very dark historical time. Yeah. And so it was creepy.
Oh, you just brought back so many childhood memories I didn't know I had.
Everything's popping to mind. But so I wanted to research it, and there isn't actually a official story out there. But when you look at the reviews for people who've stayed there, have gone to weddings, who've gone on ghost tours, people bring it up all the time that they've seen people walking around, that the picture just makes them feel ill or brings these traumatic feelings. So I wanted to start off with that little local tidbit for you.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
So, do you want to go next, or shall I carry on?
I'm happy to go if you want.
Okay, you hit us up with our first proper one.
I'll hit you up with the first one I've got. A few people might have heard of this. I know I definitely recognised it, but I hadn't gone into detail when I'd looked at it before. But this is the Dybbuk box.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So before I go into like the actual detail of the box, which, like I said, I'm sure if you have heard before or at least recognise it, I want to talk about its name, because basically in Jewish mythology, a dybbuk itself, like not a dybbuk box, just a dybbuk, it's a malicious possessing spirit. So it's supposed to be like a dislocated soul of someone that died. I don't think the word demon isn't mentioned anywhere. It's more just like a malicious spirit, because it talks about it coming from a person.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So, I think the idea of demons is like that spirit or that demonic presence was never human. It came straight from hell.
Yeah, that's quite like a religious Christian thing, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So, like the idea that's kind of being said here is, like I said, that it is a spirit. So it was a person, but it is a very malicious spirit. And it's so basically it supposedly leaves the host of the body when it's accomplished its goal, whatever that is, and sometimes that's after it's been helped, whatever that malicious spirit wanted to happen. It basically possesses different people, and like hops from host to host, and when it's done with what it wanted to accomplish, it will go to another host. It's like a parasite.
Oh, that's so creepy.
Yeah, it's really, really scary. And a dybbuk box, therefore, it's just like, it's a cursed like item. In this case, it was a box, but this could happen pretty much to any item. So this box itself is said to contain a malicious spirit, and it haunts the owner of the box. And from some stories that I've read, people that just come into contact with the box as well. Yeah. So the specific dybbuk box I'm going to talk about is the original one. This is the one that resulted in the actual phrase dybbuk box, but now that's kind of like a wider term for like a haunted object that's like a box or something. You can see loads and loads of videos on YouTube of people finding like old boxes that open up, and they're called dybbuk boxes.
Crazy.
So there are basically two versions of how I found that this like all started. The first is that in 2001, a guy named Kevin Manis purchased a wine cabinet that was auctioned on eBay. The second, and what seems to be kind of like Manis's retelling of events, is that he purchased the wine cabinet at an estate sale in 2003. And he basically managed to gather a bunch of information on the box, and he found out that it belonged to a survivor of the Holocaust in like German-occupied Poland. And the name of the owner was Havala. I'm saying that wrong. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say Havala. So he was told by Havala's relatives that she'd escaped to Spain and purchased the box there before she immigrated to the US. So Havala's granddaughter told Manis that the box had been bought in Spain after the Holocaust, and when he heard it was a family heirloom, he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, like, please have it back. Like, I feel wrong that I've bought this if it's a family heirloom." And his granddaughter insisted that he took it and said, "We don't want it." And she said, she told him that the box had been kept in her grandmother's sewing room and never been opened because a dybbuk was said to live inside.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he was like, "Here, have this heirloom back. I'm really sorry." And she was like, "Nope,
absolutely,
I'm good." Yeah, exactly. So when he opened the box, he wrote down that basically it had two 1920s pennies in it, a lock of blonde hair bound with a cord. Yep. A lock of black/brown hair bound with a cord, a small statue engraved with the Hebrew word shalom, so like hi, and a small golden wine goblet, one rosebud, and a single candle holder with 4 octopus-shaped legs.
Ooh.
So we've got like hair, we've got words saying hello. There's something very weird about that. Like, there's something uncomfortable about the combination of all of those things that are in there. But basically, the first thing he reported after getting the box was extreme night terrors.
Oh my God.
So immediately, that's what every single night he would just have night terrors after he had this box. He also reported a bunch of paranormal attacks and believed that his mother suffered a stroke on the same day he gave her the box as a birthday present.
Oh God.
Yeah, on the 28th of October. Also, I just want to question his logic for a second there. He gets a creepy box that he's told it possesses a demon. He's like, "Here you go, Mum, happy birthday."
Have a good day.
Literally no. And so after that, every single owner of the dybbuk's box reports smells of cat urine or jasmine flowers. One or the other, It's like when you have those jelly babies. It's like one's pineapple and one's bogies. But yeah, so cat urine or jasmine flowers and those nightmares, but specifically they all involve an old hag, is what it says. Ooh. All of the nightmares from all of the different people. So the last person who auctioned off the box was S1E8. And that was a Missouri student at Truman State University, and he claimed that the box caused lights to burn out in his house and his hair to fall out. Oh my God. Yeah. Then Jason Haxton, the director of the Museum of Osteopathic Medicine. Okay. I don't know what that is. Yeah. He claimed that he subsequently developed strange health problems, including hives, coughing up blood, and head-to-toe welts. Oh my God. That's gross. Yeah. So what he did was he consulted with rabbis, and he tried to figure out a way to seal the box again so that like nothing could come out of it, no one could be cursed or anything could happen. And this was apparently successful. I'm going to use the word apparently here, quite strongly. And he took the freshly sealed box to a secret location that he didn't reveal. And he recently donated the box itself to Zach Bagans' museum. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there it is. So, Ghost Adventures, it's like a US TV show that Zach Bagans is the host of, and he has a museum called the Haunted Museum, and it holds so many of the world's most haunted objects. We should definitely go. Oh my God, yes. 100%. But it's currently sitting in that museum, and like I said before, though, people are said to feel the effects of the box, even if they're just in contact with it. And a very famous account of this that's quite recent is actually Post Malone. I love that. Yeah. So if you don't know much about Post Malone, he's very into paranormal things, extraterrestrial things. He's a very open-minded guy. And he's a very great guy as well, like as a person. Definitely like watch some podcasts that he's in. He's a very cool guy. I know he's having a moment at the minute, but he's a very, very down-to-earth, sweet guy. But basically, he went on Ghost Adventures, having a great time. And that all included a trip to the museum where he was near the box. And he was near the box and he was looking at it and stuff. And this is when he says that like a curse was released, and that curse basically followed him. Man. Because after that visit, his plane tyres blew out and nearly died in a plane accident. Oh my God. His Rolls Royce was in an accident, also nearly died. And his former home that he's obviously moved out of now was just ransacked, like completely robbed. And obviously all of that could be a coincidence, but he fully believed no, it was the box. He believed it so much that he later went back to try and reverse the curse, because that's how much he really believed. That's scary. It was the box's fault. I don't know if that was successful or not, because he's still having a string of bad luck right now. He's not having the best time. But yeah, if you haven't seen any pictures of this, definitely have a look. It is really weird, especially when you see the contents of the box. Like the etching that says Shalom, it's like on like a bit of stone, and it just, everything that's in the box, all of it together, it looks uncomfortable. Ooh. It just sounds creepy. Yeah. So that's the Dybbuk box. So interesting and so creepy. Mm-hmm. I know. The more I looked into it, especially like when it has like the religious spin on it as well. Oh, it just makes me. And it's interesting hearing a religious spin that's not in a kind of Catholic Christian sort of thing. I completely agree. It's interesting seeing the different religions' point of view on negative energies. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not like a demon thing. It's just like a malicious spirit. It was from a person. Yeah. Oh, creepy. Super interesting. Yeah, I know. Okay, well, your turn. My next one isn't so ghostly creepy, but I still think it's very interesting. Mm-hmm. So, this is the story of the Bulgarian cursed phone number. Ooh. So, we're a little bit up to date on this one, like. Love it. So, I'm going to start by saying the phone number is 0888 888 888. Oh my God. Of course it is. And this phone number has now been suspended forever. So you can no longer call it. If you do call it, you just get a tone that says this phone is outside of your coverage and you won't be able to contact it. So, yes, it has now been suspended. Wow, okay. So, the reason this phone has been suspended is because
whoever owned this phone number ended up dying in sort of tragic and unforeseen circumstances.
Okay.
So the first person who owned this phone was said to be the CEO of Mobitel, which was the company that actually issued the phone number. However, I do want to say I saw in a couple of different sources that he wasn't actually the CEO, but he was like a high board member. But either way, he was someone significant within this company.
Right.
So in 2001, Vladimir Grashnov, oh God, we've just chosen like interesting names.
Yeah, we have.
So Vladimir died in 2001 of cancer. And as normal as this may seem, it actually was rumoured that this cancer had been caused by a business rival who had used radioactive poisoning on him.
Oh my God.
So not just a normal kind of run-of-the-mill death.
Chemical warfare.
So then the phone number got passed on to Konstantin Dimitrov. And Dimitrov was rumoured to be a mafia member, so of the Bulgarian mafia. And it was said that he was killed in 2003, so 2 years after the first owner had died. And he was killed by an assassin in the Netherlands. And this was when he had gone to the Netherlands to inspect his 500 million drug empire. All of this is kind of like rumoured. I don't know if there's enough proof to 100% say this is all true, but like interesting.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's also said that he had the phone on him when he died.
Oh.
Which, adds to the bad juju. And then the third person who had this phone number passed on to them after that person died was a businessman called Konstantin Dishliev. We're getting rid of these names. And Dishliev was killed in 2005 in Bulgaria's capital city, Sofia. And he was actually shot outside a restaurant. So, he was also murdered. And it was suspected that, it was rumoured that he was actually running a cocaine trafficking operation. And this is because his I think it was his wife or ex-wife or something, but like members of his family and other things later down the line actually did get arrested for crimes similar to this. So it is rumoured that is an influence that might have got him killed.
Oh my God.
So after this third death, the phone company spotted this pattern and decided to suspend the phone number because too many weird and traumatic events were occurring to the owners of the phone number. And that is the story of the cursed phone number.
Oh my
God.
God.
It's left at that. They suspended the phone number and that's where we're at with it.
That is so creepy though. That is, oh my God.
Like, there's something about that feels very strange and different because it's not like an old haunted object. Like,
it gives me more like Black Mirror vibes.
And so it said that the number 8 like was looked into to see whether it was like in any religions or cultures a like demonic number or anything like that. Like 666 or 13 or 4. Like all of those numbers in different cultures are often like left off hotels and stuff like that. But the number 8, besides some Asian cultures, I believe, actually isn't a significant number at all. It's not associated. And I think it's the number 8 actually in Asian cultures is a good luck number.
I was going to say, in my mind, I seem to associate that with luck. So
there is no negative connotations with this number.
Weird.
So
maybe it's like 1 8 is lucky, 2 8s is not lucky, 3 8s is lucky,
8 billion 8s.
4 8s is not lucky. Wow. That makes me
it's weird. Very weird.
That is super weird. Super weird. Wow. Okay.
Onwards.
I'm gonna onwards and upwards. Well, not upwards.
Continue it down the spiral.
Keeps going down. Yeah. This next one is the Chair of Death.
Ooh.
So this chair is also known as Busby's stoop chair. Yeah. See, how do you know?
I like me some cursed objects.
Yeah. So this chair once belonged to Thomas Busby, who was a convicted murderer. And in 1702, he was convicted for the murder of his father-in-law, Daniel Auty, A-U-T-Y,
Yeah.
Auty, whom he supposedly strangled for sitting in his favourite chair after an argument about his wife.
Lord.
Yeah. So following his trial, he was sentenced to be hanged, but before he was actually hanged, his final request was to have a meal in his favourite local pub with his chair. He wanted to sit in his chair and,
You've killed someone in it, you might as well have your last meal in it.
Might as well have your last meal in it. So he did that, and then when he finished his meal, he stood up and in front of everyone in the pub said, "May sudden death come to anyone who dare sit on my chair."
I love a little curse.
Imagine just being, like, I would be that petty as well.
Oh my God, yeah.
So then after he was put to death, the chair stayed in the pub literally for centuries. And people were, like, dared to sit in it. It was like a whole local myth, like,
love that.
little, like you go somewhere and they're like, oh, there's this thing. So you can walk around this stone 3 times or whatever. But then, supposedly, 63 people who sat in their chair met their untimely deaths. 63! Yeah. And some of them, it was like moments after sitting in it. I've got some examples. So during World War II, airmen from a nearby base made the pub like a hotspot. And the chair became like a hot seat, and people basically noticed that anyone who would sit in that chair would not come back.
Oh my God. Oh, that's dark.
And there are there's loads and loads of examples of people that sat in the chair and then didn't come back. They were deployed and didn't come back. And specifically, in 1967, 2 RAF pilots sat in it, and while they were driving back, they crashed into a tree and died. Yeah. A few years later, 2 bricklayers decided to try it, and that afternoon, the one who sat in it fell to his death. Yeah. Another example is a roofer who sat in it that later died when he was working because the roof he was working on collapsed. And also, this one, I just think it's petty of the ghost, honestly. A cleaning woman who just stumbled into it while she was mopping.
You think you'd let that one go?
I know. I was like, come on, that's a bit petty. She's literally cleaning the area around your chair. But whatever. So when the number of deaths became too coincidental, which I think, 63 is a bit high to come to that conclusion. But basically, the pub owner moved the chair to the basement so no one could sit in it. However, one day a delivery man came in and he sat in it. An hour later, crashed, struck and died. So after that death, the landlord asked the local museum, which is the Thirsk Museum, to take it. And this was in 1972. The chair is still there today, but they've hung it 5 feet off the ground to prevent anyone sitting in it. So it's there, it's been there the whole time, but there's no way anyone can literally sit in it. They wouldn't even put it on the floor.
Because you will always have someone who thinks to tempt fate.
Exactly, yeah. So they've literally put it 5 feet up on the wall.
I love that.
Yeah, but it's still there. If you look up the picture as well, so the actual chair is it's a dark wood. It's maybe a mahogany.
I like this. We're going into
that kind of colour.
Wood context.
We're going into it. Why not? It kind of it's just like a very simple 4-legged chair, like a long back, and it's all it's quite nice, honestly. It's got loads of nice wood carvings, but it's also got that thing, on a chair when it has at the front of it, it has the butt dips. Yeah, it kind of is carved like that, which is, it's got butt dips. But yeah, hanging on the wall. That's
Creepy.
That's the haunted chair. The chair
I just feel
death.
I wonder when it was in the pub whether it was advertised as this haunted chair or whether it was just a chair at the table.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you just sat down with your drink and boom, you were cursed? I wonder whether they were careful about it or not.
I feel like they probably would have said this is the cursed chair, mainly because it would have brought in a lot
you could embrace
of
that, couldn't you?
At first. Exactly, yeah. And then it's from oops,
then that's on your conscience and you're just get rid of this now.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. Oh my god! So on my document where I have all of this information, I'm going to talk about a painting next, and I've got a picture of the painting, and it just keeps staring at me.
It's like giving you like
uncomfortable. So I'm like, I'm like scrolling up away from it. Oh God, Hannah,
so
distract
I'm going to distract you with the tragic story of Anna Baker's wedding dress.
Oh.
So, in 1849, Anna Baker fell in love with a co-worker. So you start on that happy note, because it's all downward hill from
been
here.
There. Oh, that's sad.
Anna Baker's father, Ellis Baker, actually refused to give his consent for the couple to marry. And so Ellis was very rich. He had made his fortune as an iron maker and had a lot of influence in the town they lived in, which was Altoona, Pennsylvania. Who knows if that was pronounced right? And he used this influence to actually have the man that his daughter had fallen in love with banished from the town. So Anna was incredibly upset, as you can imagine, and she actually never married, and she continued to remain angry with her father until her death in 1914. And she actually also never moved out of the family home. She continued to stay there her entire life, probably just as a like, screw you, now you can't get rid of me kind of situation, which I like.
I love it. I love the pettiness.
So the kind of ghosty tragic story of the item I'm going to talk about comes from the fact that Anna had already bought her wedding dress for this wedding that was never going to happen. And so her wedding dress was actually brought by a lady called Elizabeth Dystart. And I don't know whether, like, there's no context around why this dress was sold, whether this was, like, Anna's father selling it or what happened, because I can't imagine this was Anna selling this wedding dress. So when this dress was sold to Elizabeth, she actually was gloating that Anna would never get to wear this dress and, you know, being just generally very cruel about the whole situation. Yeah, I know.
So mean.
Like, just make it worse. You know, you've just taken this girl's wedding dress, rub it in.
Oh my God, that is horrible.
So
I hate people.
I couldn't tell you how long because I forgot to write down the date, but this wedding dress was eventually donated to the Blair County Historical Society, and it was then later donated to the Bakers Museum, which was the museum, I presume, around this iron makers industry kind of thing. So this was actually in Anna's family home, this new museum. And so they kept Anna's wedding dress in her bedroom within a glass case. So this dress is said to move on its own, especially during a full moon. And the way the dress moves, it was described as, it moves as if a bride is wearing it and kind of like swaying in it in front of a mirror, you know, like checking out their wedding dress.
Oh, that gives me like chills and makes me upset.
But I was demonstrating my swaying as we're doing this.
I can so imagine that.
So it moves in a very eerie, kind of creepy way. And there have been investigations around this to see if there is like a draft which is causing the dress to move, but there is like no naturally occurring reason. Well, there's no occurring reason for this. So the dress is also said to cause hallucinations of a young woman dancing around the museum. So whether, like, in my mind, whether this is hallucinations or whether this is actually like seeing an apparition, could go either ways, but there's said to be a woman who moves around the museum. And there have been occasions that the staff of the museum have actually seen the dress not just swaying, but actually violently shaking, to the point that they were very concerned that the glass that it was kept in would shatter and it would actually damage the dress.
Oh my God.
So it is crazy. Like, I think they've actually had to change how they store it now just in order to protect it from sunlight, you know, natural decay, things like that. But it is, that is the story of the dress.
Oh my god. I cannot believe that woman.
I know, this whole thing is like
cruel.
tragic, but then you just get hurt, like, haha, you're never wearing this.
Who does that?
It's horrible, isn't it?
Who does that? Like, that is awful. If you got that dress and you knew the story behind it, you'd be like, I'm gonna have a wonderful day and I'm gonna respect, you know, this spirit, and I'm gonna be like, you know, I'm gonna wear it for her. She, like, what?
Yeah. I think this was style she was like still alive and everything, like actively gloating to her face about it.
I would, oh my god, I don't even know what I would do. How would you even react to that?
Like,
that's horrible.
Haunting definitely seems like an applicable situation.
I agree. Do you know what? I agree. I would haunt that bitch.
Oh, yeah, I would go to town on this.
Oh my god.
It's brutal, isn't it?
It's so brutal. Like, why is that
even...
What do you
women.
gain from that?
This is what we can take away from this. Support other women.
I know. Just support. Just don't be that bitch. Basically. The bar is now incredibly low.
Yeah.
Just don't be that bitch. Okay, well, I'm going to move into a crying boy then. So this is the crying boy painting. I have a picture of this, and there's like, it's like a very angelic little boy with like blonde hair, big blue eyes, tears just streaming down. And it's sweet, but I've been looking at it for a while and now I need to not look at it because it looks kind of demonic. So the Crying Boy painting was produced by an artist named Bruno Amadio under the name Giovanni Bragolin in 1950s. So he was, I believe, an Italian painter. I read that somewhere. I could be wrong, but this was in the 1950s, and it quickly became like super famous. And over the years, it, like, especially in Britain, it was like basically mass produced, and it was hung in so many homes. Like, it's like basically every single freaking home had the Crying Boy in it. And it is like, it's a really, really gorgeous painting. I believe actually there's a series of paintings of the Crying Boy, so different crying boys, or maybe the same boy just crying differently. I don't know. Who knows? But I do believe it was a series of paintings. But this specific one, like I said, was mass produced. So many homes in Britain had it. And then on the 4th of September in 1985, The Sun published a story about a couple, Ron and May Hall, whose house had completely burned to the ground, like completely burnt down, due to a fire which started in a chip pan. Yep, as you do. Eerily enough, though, the painting of the Crying Boy was completely untouched. Yep, everything around it was completely charred. The walls, the floor, all the furniture, every single thing in the house was falling apart.
Can you imagine walking into that site and just seeing it? Like, oh,
I know. No. Yeah, exactly. So the couple blamed the fire on the painting, and a fire station officer, Alan Wilkinson, basically this all came out, and he said he knew of numerous cases where the painting was the only thing in the house to survive a fire. So a bunch of fires had happened and this was the only thing. And basically, so in the newspaper there was a photo with the story of the Crying Boy, and the caption just read, "Tears for fears, the portrait."
Is that a wise idea to send the cursed picture out into like hundreds of households?
You know, probably not. But after that, it became like so widely reported that homes started to just like catch fire and burn to the ground. And in most of them, this painting was found, once again, completely untouched. Yeah, so it happened like in so many cases. Some people obviously saw it and were like, that's pure coincidence. But the undamaged paintings can't be explained. Like, yeah, you cannot explain that. And considering it was just like mass produced, when I was thinking about it, I was like, was it coated in something? Like, what was it? But then I was like, if a fire is that hot to destroy your entire house, burn the entire thing down to the ground, I'm sorry, but no painting is going to survive. Otherwise, every single thing we own is going to be coated.
I'll put all my journals in it.
I know.
the concern.
Of course you would. I love that that's your concern. So, like I said, this happened like pretty much all over Britain, and basically hang on 1 second. Police officer Pengelly is here, and he's very happy about the fact that we're doing cursed objects. This was his idea. So basically, all of these buildings had like burnt down. This random painting was still there. So what did all the Brits do? They just ripped it off their walls, and there was a mass bonfire, and they destroyed loads and loads of the paintings. Yeah, which to my point earlier is like clearly these paintings do burn because they were burnt in a bonfire.
Of course, that's the like solution we have for this.
I know. Like, this thing is burning stuff down.
We do like bonfires.
We always have bonfires. We have bonfires for everything. Bonfire night. Well, I guess that makes sense. Cause, Anyway, that's it. And like I said, the more I look at this painting, the more it creeps me out.
The other thing about this painting that baffles me is, like, I don't know about you, but I really don't think I'd want a painting of a boy crying in my like house.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a very angelic picture in a way.
It's just
but like it is a boy crying.
Decorating list.
I mean,
we do like to embrace the sadness, don't we?
But we do. But like, it's literally like it looks like someone ripped this child from like his home or something. Like
why would you want that in your house? Very weird.
Brits are weird.
I mean, that being said, like on my wall currently there's a picture of an orange. So, like, maybe I'm not the prime example of interior design, but still.
I mean, on my wall I have a ice cold Nuka-Cola sign from a game, so I don't think
maybe
I'm
like
much for interior design as well.
And we're the ones with a dodgy style.
Maybe it's like a very tasteful
classy
thing. We just don't have taste.
I think we can establish that.
No. That's true. We established that a very long time ago. But
creeps.
That's the crying boy.
Okay. Well, my last story is the Burton Agnes Screaming Skull. And that's really hard to say. Say that fast. Yes.
Burton Agnes Screaming Skull.
Burton Agnes Screaming Skull.
Burton Agnes Screaming... No. Sorry. No, it doesn't work.
The story around this skull is very interesting. So this is the story of Catherine Griffin. And so Catherine Griffin was the daughter of... I've lost his name. Sir Henry Griffin. And he built this lavish big hall, like a stately home, called Burton Agnes Hall. And so his daughter Catherine Griffin was incredibly excited about this building that was being made. She would not stop talking about it. She was very excited. And so she travelled one day to actually go and see the hall. And so the story goes that on her journey to get to the hall and visit the house, she was actually attacked and robbed en route. And so this was in 1620. So she was kind of like highway robbed sort of situation. And so when this happened and they found her body, she was still alive and she was brought to the hall. But she actually ended up dying a few days later, which is really tragic. Like, she was the youngest of this man's daughters. Like, she was quite young. Like, it's sad. And so as she was dying within the hall, the place that she loved and was so passionate about, she told her sisters in her semi-delirious state, and also it was said that she was semi-delirious, but she was also very serious about this. And she said to her sisters that she would not rest unless part of her remained in the house. Like, creepy. Ooh. So she made her sisters promise that her head would be preserved in the hall forever. Her head, like you do.
Her
the
head?
normal thing to say.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
I see where this is going. I don't like it.
Did eventually end up passing away. And when she did die, her families buried her in the churchyard. You know, like, they've just buried her in the churchyard. They wanted a proper burial. Understandable. However, then Catherine's ghost started to haunt the hall. So they would see a ghost walking around, like, things would creepy, mysterious things would occur. And so after being haunted by this, and obviously like this being a really tragic experience in itself, the sisters remembered the promise that they had made to their sister, and they opened up her grave, and they actually brought the scroll into the house and placed it in the like, I think it's in the grand hall or something like that, like in the centre of the house. So her skull was there on display.
Are you joking?
And the house remained peaceful.
Oh my god.
So the haunting stopped. She was content she was where she wanted to be. However, as this owners of this house has gone on, there have obviously been several attempts to remove this skull. Because realistically, you don't particularly want that in your dining room.
Yeah, who walks in and is like, oh, this is a skull from two families who lived here before me. This is like so old. Skull, I don't know who this is.
So there were several attempts, and one example was the skull was removed and it was actually buried in the garden. And the intense hauntings returned. So the skull was brought back up and put back in its rightful place. And the house was peaceful again. So yeah, the skull remains to this day, as far as I know. Like,
that is uncomfortable and strange, but also I'm glad it's peaceful.
Like, it's quite content, isn't it? Like, she got her wish.
Yeah.
And she remains calm as long as she's part of this house that she adored. Like, it's quite nice. Yeah, I know.
It's nice, but imagine moving into that house.
Skull either. Like,
and you're like...
I don't particularly know why that's the title there, but yeah. That is the story of Catherine Griffin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Mad.
I think it's quite nice, isn't it? Like, it's a nice
one.
little ending. Like, yes, she died, but she got to be where she wanted to be, and her spirit remains peaceful as long as she's there. So, you know, it's quite nice.
Yeah.
I know.
It is.
I feel successful.
What a nice way to end. I like it. Thank you for that. Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, that is it for all of our
we got loads
cursed objects. I think you should do another one of these.
Like, that's 6 official haunted objects and one slightly additional haunted object. Yeah.
I found loads as well. So we should definitely do another one. Yeah.
That's it for today. We hope that you will listen again soon. Oh, and also we do have an email address, so if you want to send us any recommendations, things you want to hear, the email address is witchyweirdos1@gmail.com.
Also,
yeah, you could just say hi and like nothing else, and we'll use it.
Yeah, you'll make our day.
Thanks for listening.
Okay, well,